In this short video, I'm just going to go through some of the key features that we find within the structure of muscles. So the first thing that I want to talk about are neuromuscular junctions. Right. A neuromuscular junction is where a motor neuron is going and it's meeting the physical muscle membrane. So a neuromuscular junction is a chemical synapse formed by the contact between a motor neuron and a muscle fibre. It is at the neuromuscular junction that a motor neuron is able to transmit a signal to the muscle, thereby causing contraction. So the physical outside of the muscle fibre is called the sarcolemma. So that is where our neuromuscular junction is going and connecting to. So the sarcolemma is a specialised cell membrane that surrounds the striated muscle fibre cells. Right, sometimes it can be called the myolemma. So the sarcolemma is similar to a typical plasma membrane but has specialised functions that enable it to interact specifically with muscle cells. So the sarcolemma also contains an extracellular matrix consisting of various polysaccharides which allows the cells to be anchored to it, thereby helping to form physical muscle fibres. Right, so if we go the next layer down, so the next layer down, next thing that we need to talk about are Ttubules. Right, Ttubules you can almost think about as having a similar function to axons in that they're going to go and carry an impulse physically into or further into a muscle. So Ttubules, or the function of Ttubules is to conduct impulses from the surface sarcolemma down into the sarcoplasmic reticulum, which goes and physically surrounds the muscle fibres and the muscle cells within. Right, so it's going and it's transmitting that nerve impulse all the way from where it's coming in the neuromuscular junction through the sarcoplasma down further into the muscle. So as we go deeper, so the next layer that we need to speak about is the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Right, the sarcoplasmic reticulum is a little bit like an endoplasmic reticulum in that it's storing things. And the things that it's storing are ions and such forth that will go and play a pivotal role in causing muscle contraction. So the sarcoplasmic reticulum constitutes the main intracellular calcium store in striated muscle, right, and plays an important role in the regulation of extension and contraction of the muscle fibres. So, next thing that we then need to talk about are the physical muscle fibres. So, if we go a little bit deeper, so we go underneath the sarcoplasmic reticulum, we end up with our physical muscle fibres. Right? The muscle fibres can be split into light bands and dark bands. So the light bands are areas that appear light, where you have actin and myosin fibres that do not overlap. Right? So the physical muscle fibres are made out of two proteins called actin and myosin. We will go and discuss those in a little bit more detail in a future video. The dark bands are areas that appear dark because the actin and myosin fibres are overlapping. So because they are overlapping, that makes it look darker. Right. So, if we actually just talk very briefly about muscle contraction would kind of happen like that. Two last features that I want to speak about. So the Z line. So the Z line is found at the centre of individual bands. So it's found at the centre of each light band. The distance between adjacent Z lines is called the sarcomere. So the sarcomere is a functional unit of the myofibril. So when the muscle contracts, the sarcomere shortens. When the muscle relaxes, the sarcomere lengthens. And finally, the H zone. Right, so the H zone is the lighter cord region found in the centre of each dark band. Only myosin fibres are present at this point, and when the muscle contracts, the H zone decreases. So that entire region there, you could almost consider on this model to be a H zone. Right, that summarises very, very briefly some of the key features and key things that we can see when we're looking at muscle fibres.